Everyone has their own GOAT list or their own Rushmores. In my head, I separate it into three categories because there's too many variables throughout the 140 years plus of wrestling history not to. There's the GOAT because they were needle movers and they defined their generation, and that takes you straight to Hogan, Austin, and then you can start making cases for The Rock, Gorgeous George, Cena, Bruno, Flair, Harley. Then there is the best actual in-ring wrestler, if that's what GOAT means to you. Probably the hardest list to debate. Always going to be Eddie or Shawn for me. You can get into all caps rage paragraph fights over easily 20, 30 people, new and old, across the globe. But then there is the GOAT of GOAT list, the God tier. Like, who had it all? Who doesn't need a qualifier? Because they transcended the sport. They had the looks, the promos, the accomplishments, the longevity, the in-ring ability, unforgettable storylines, and just gave the industry more credibility as an art form. And at the peak of the best, at the vanguard of pro wrestling immortality, one man sits unchallenged, unrivaled at the pinnacle of the fucking mountain. A wrestler who has reached what I can only describe as some sort of pro wrestling sainthood. Inarguably, unquestionably, objectively, the greatest wrestler of all time, the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Really great job summing it all up, Nick. Macho Man Randy Savage, one of the greatest of all time, and wrestled between 1974 and 2004. That is 30 years. Wrestled a total, according to Cage Match, so asterisk, but we have documented 2,190 matches, and all of them in some way or another, except for the TNA one, magical.
I think you most certainly nailed it, that like whatever your qualifier is for like best ever, like Macho Man can fall in it. Maybe promo guy, in-ring performer, guy who transcends the business, drawing money, whatever you want to put on your qualifier for greatest of all time. Macho Man falls somewhere on that list in everybody's top 10 very much, and a lot of top fives in each one of those. You know, if you're a child of the 80s, there might be a sense like, well, Hulk Hogan was the guy. I mean, he was basically like Babe Ruth in that sense that he was such a transcendent star, but I don't think anybody looks upon Hulk's in-ring matches at the same degree that Macho Man is. Maybe some of the kids of the 80s look at Macho Man as a second banana, but you're right. In his passing and in people rediscovering and podcasts like this, interviews like this, and video footage just coming to life and being surfaced for everybody to see now and streaming, and people are starting to see how incredible Macho Man is. He's really become a wrestling saint in a sense of this thing that is much more than a wrestler, and I think that's only going to grow over time as we get further and further down the line, much in the same sense that we talk about somebody like a Luthez, like, oh, Luthez, you know, old time, old school, legit wrestler. I think as we get further down the line, people are going to start thinking of 80s wrestling. And instead of immediately going to Hulk Hogan, I think a lot more people are going to start going right to Macho Man Randy Savage, because he was as close as you're going to get to a perfect professional wrestler.